let's talk about X-Men 97. So we've watched all 10 episodes, both of us. After we give our scores and kind of our overall thoughts, we'll give a spoiler warning and go into spoilers. I feel like you kind of talked about episode 5 last time, so I'll let you go ahead and go first and give your thoughts on episode 5.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So episode 5, like 10 out of freaking 10. Like, it was freaking amazing, epic. There's moments I'm going to remember in this episode forever. Like, it was that good. It's the characters, everything about it. There's zero negative for me in this episode. Zero. None. I loved it. So 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree. I gave it a 10 out of 10 as well. It was such an amazing episode, and it like had this like kind of calm, chill feel at the beginning, and then like it just everything kicked off and it went crazy and it went so hard. It was so good.
Oh, so good. I can't wait to talk about it in spoilers.
Yeah, for me, episode 6, I feel like kind of slowed it down a bit, and I didn't like it as much as some of the other episodes. I think it's probably my second lowest episode. I gave it an 8 still. It's still a really good episode, so I gave that one an 8 just because it kind of slowed it down. There were some things that I wasn't too into, but overall, it was a really good episode still.
Yeah, I agree. I think besides episode 4, this is the other weakest one, and the weakest one out of the second half for sure. But I still liked it more than episode 4. And it was still interesting, but I mean, it's hard to follow up after episode 5. And it kind of did slow it down a little bit. So I still give it an 8 out of 10 because I did still find it interesting. You know, it just had the disadvantage of being after episode 5.
Right.
So yeah, I gave it an 8 out of 10 as well. And then episode 7, right? 7, Bright Eyes. I still, this episode, 9 out of 10. I loved it. There's kind of some cool little cameos in this one. And it kind of swung back into the main focus. I love this one. I think this kind of set it back a little bit on track. I gave this one 9 out of 10.
Totally agreed. I also gave it a 9 out of 10. I did think it brought it back on track. I love that the animation is able to be in the world where it has like all the Marvel stuff, and you like in the show it just randomly shows something and you're like, oh, that's this thing, and I just love that. And we got some of that in this, some even more in-depth stuff with some other people. And yeah, I definitely feel like this set it back up on track and set up the last 3 episodes really well. So I gave it a 9.
Yeah.
Episode 8, I gave this one, and this one was tough. I was between a 9 and a 10. I gave it a 9. Episode 8 was Tolerance is Extinction Part 1. Yeah, I gave it a 9. I thought it was really good. It set up the ending. I feel like the last 3 are all, you can kind of bundle them together, and if you bundled all 3 of them together, I would give them a 10. But this one, I mean, it's the setup to like the end game, so I gave it a 9. It really did a great job of setting it all up for it to just like knock it down in the last 2 episodes.
Okay, this is where we differ. I actually gave this one a freaking 10 out of 10. I love this one. It has my favorite scene of the whole series.
Okay.
That involves Wolverine and Nightcrawler. I thought that scene was freaking awesome.
Yes.
I loved this episode, and 10 out of 10, and I'll spoil it. Episode 9, 10 out of 10 as well. Kind of like you said, if you group them all together, it's like part 2 of Tolerance is Extinction. And 10 out of freaking 10 for that too. Ended amazing with that, and yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I gave episode 9 a 10, and I also gave episode 10 a 10. Like the ending to this, I might even update episode 8 to a 10 if I go back and rewatch it. Like the whole ending of this was just so incredibly well done. They like kept the spirit of the old one, but updated it to more like modern animation. There were also just so many like emotional scenes. I did not expect to get hit with as many emotions as I did, and a lot of surprises. And it was just such a good show. Like the last 2 episodes were perfect.
Yeah, I agree. There was one nitpick I had, which we could talk about in spoilers.
Okay.
And it's just a little nitpick. Like it had no effect on the show. But besides that, like, 10 out of 10 for me, obviously, in the final part 3. So the last finale. I loved it. The whole show as a whole, I would give it 10 out of 10.
I agree with that.
The only episode 4, was kind of the only one that, like, it was a cool episode, but it just felt off.
Yeah. It felt like filler almost.
Yeah. Even episode 6, sorry. The one Storm we ranked at 8 out of 10. Like, even though that one's goes off track, it's still kind of on track. Like, it was
still important.
Yeah, but episode 4, but besides that, and even then, I liked episode 4, but it just felt off track. But yeah, 10 out of 10 for this whole show. The animation, the characters, the emotion, the voice acting, the cameos, the story, everything about the show I loved.
And this is I'm definitely going to go back and watch the older X-Men all the way through, because I've seen parts of it, but I've never like watched it all the way through together. So this has definitely made me want to go do that.
Yeah, I finished season 1 of the original show.
Nice.
It's just cool seeing all the original stuff, you know, like with how Bishop kind of got with the team and stuff like that, like seeing all the stuff. So you definitely should. It's interesting.
Yeah. All right. Well, you ready to get into spoilers?
Yes, please. Let's do it.
Okay, spoiler alert for X-Men 97. If you haven't watched it, we highly recommend. 10 out of 10 show. Amazing. Go watch it and then come back and watch this.
Yes, come praise it with us. That's why I know I texted you like 2 or 3 times, like, you gotta watch it, man. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, I'm very glad you did. It was amazing.
God, it was so good. I was so excited to talk about it. Man, episode 5, my lord, dude. I watched that. I instantly just rewatched it. Like, that's how much I liked it.
Yeah, I want to go back and rewatch it. It was crazy how fast it turned too. It was like all chill, they're having a party, and then Cable shows up, and then it just all kicks off. It was just so brutal. The explosions felt so like impactful, and it looked so amazing.
And I did read that the writer for this episode, he experienced like those. He based the episode. He was there for the shootings in Orlando, and I don't know if you remember a few years ago.
Yeah,
he was at like I think it was like one of the gay bars in Orlando or something. He was there, the nightclub, and so like he said he wrote this episode like to make it feel like his experience, and you could tell.
Yeah, that makes sense. Dang, that's crazy.
Because, you know, like they were at the ball or whatever, you know, at like kind of a celebration, and then just straight chaos.
Yeah, just everything started going crazy. Explosions, and oh man.
And he said he wanted them to feel like alone. Like there's almost no music after that happens. But like even the first half, like that's what the show did so good, is like the drama side of it is just as good. It's an animated show on Disney Plus, and like I never thought I would just care so much about them.
Yeah, there were so many like heartfelt moments and like heartbreak, and they did a really good job. Like I feel like the voice acting in this was so good. Like with Jean, with Nightcrawler, with Cyclops, Storm, all of them going through like tough times, and you could really feel it.
Madeline,
Rogue, yep.
Yeah, because obviously centerpiece for this episode is Rogue, you know, Magneto, and obviously Gambit, and I felt so bad for Gambit, man. Like,
yeah, and I love Gambit. He's always been one of my favorites.
Yeah, Gambit's awesome, and he just kept getting denied by Rogue. He's finally like, all right, whatever, we'll just be friends, you know. And then the ball happens, and he sees them kissing, and he walks away. But then, like, Rogue says, like she's gonna pick Gambit, pretty much.
Yeah, she does.
But like, Gambit he never found out.
He never did.
She was gonna pick you, man.
So I have a question. Did you see the end scene in the mid-roll of the credits of episode 10?
Yeah, you're talking about in episode 10.
Yes.
Because it was with, there's been rumors about Apocalypse bringing back Gambit, right? As like one of the 4 horsemen.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems like it's setting up, because he picks up Gambit's card and says something.
Yeah, that which would be interesting. But would it be our Gambit?
I don't know.
With time travel, that stuff gets all confusing.
Yeah.
Like, tell me that wasn't like the coolest yet saddest death you've seen in like a Marvel cartoon.
For sure. And like even the fallout from it was super sad and emotionally impactful.
That whole final half, dude. I want to rewatch again too. The actress who did Rogue, or voiced Rogue, like just seeing her peering, because the first thing is Magneto, right?
Oh,
like,
man,
so after he's pretty much preventing them to save him. Like Magneto has a bunch of the kid mutants, is trying to protect them from the big thing that attacks. What attacks? What's it called?
It's like Master Mold and like a Godzilla-sized Sentinel.
Yeah, like and you know, Rogue's trying to go over there save him, and Magneto holds him down with metal, and it gets blasted, and they die, or at least you think, or I think actually the kid mutants died.
Yeah.
And then Rogue goes on like a rage, and she's about to almost like suicidal rage, and that's when of course Gambit like said and sped up and shot his bike at her. And then Rogue, and then Gambit. I mean, Gambit.
Oh man, his death was so cool. Like touching the metal and then just sending it all up to Master Mold was so good.
Is brutal. Like it kind of shot back, and his body's just floating there, and you could see him floating there. Well, not floating, but impaled. And like the camera, I don't know if you noticed that before, like a shot scoots back, and his body is just glowing in front of the big base of the Master Mold. Oh, it just looked cool. It was sad, and of course it's like, you know, remember it. Oh god, that's such a cool.
Yeah, such a great line.
That was such a great death. Like it was sad, but like like, that was, if you're gonna go out, my god, Gambit has the coolest death.
Agreed. It was such a cool death.
I wasn't expecting that. Like, well, first of all, like, this whole episode, right? Like, Magneto allegedly dies. Like, you think he kind of dies, but, like, I kind of like, there's no way. And then Gambit doing it, I'm like, are they just gonna, like, kill everyone off right now?
I know. That's what it felt like. I thought it was gonna be like, okay, everyone here is gonna die and someone's gonna have to go back in time and fix it. But it was different than that, which I actually kind of liked. Like, there were deaths that mattered. It wasn't something that they could just go back and fix and change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Gambit, like, he's not in it the rest of the show. Like, he's dead. Now, whether what they do something in season 2 or not, whatever, but, like, in this season, he's dead. Like, he's gone. He's not back. Which I was actually kind of surprised, to be honest.
Yeah, I was too. Yeah, I kind of felt like since we didn't fully see Magneto dead, I thought he might be able to come back. But yeah, Gambit, I was like, oh man, that's a real one. He's not coming back from that.
Like, when you, like, what were you like, when you first saw him get impaled, like, what did you think? I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, me too. I didn't believe it. I was like, no, they're not going to kill off Gambit. No. What? But yep, they
so
do.
Good. What do they go for to Janisha for?
Genosha,
yeah.
They're being, like, recognized and brought into the UN.
So it's kind of like the mutant island, pretty much. And so they want Magneto to lead, right? Or the only stimulation is Rogue has to lead with him, pretty much, as his, like, queen. So then there's, like, that whole love triangle, because, of course, she's talking to, Gambit, and he's like, I need to do this for the greater good or whatever. It could be in the inside.
Yeah, and normally, like, love triangles, I'm like, whatever. But they did a pretty good job with it in this one. I feel like they made it interesting.
Yeah.
There were, like, good reasons why. So I think that was set up really well.
You're right. And it does make, like, I understand it with this too, because, I mean, I get it with Rogue. If, like, with physical touch, she can't touch anyone else, and she knows, like, with Magneto, like, that's the only person, at least she knows of, that she could, like, physically touch. It's like, I totally get her thing.
Yeah, for sure. It makes sense.
But then, like, I just feel so bad for Gambit.
I know.
Oh, that scene where he was talking to him before and pretty much saying, I need the physical touch, and he's saying it's not everything. That was a good scene. And he was like a bigger person now. He's like, all right, we'll just be friends. And then seeing, and then, like, at the dance thing, the ball or whatever, they're, like, floating, her and Magneto just floating there and kissing, and that's what he sees. And he walks off, and, like,
poor Gambit.
I know. Like, the dude's just getting reamed. And then literally and then Madeline's there, and I guess when they're floating right after the kiss and Gambit walks away, then isn't that when Rogue says that, like, Gambit's right, it's not all about touch or something like that?
Yeah, and so she basically says no to Magneto and flies off. But then I think that's when Madeline starts hearing someone talking to her.
That's right, and she goes outside, and then Cable, and that scene was cool too, because she talked to Cable, and Cable's freaking out, like, I'm out of time, and like, gets sucked back in time, and then says, like, I'm sorry, Mom, or something like that. Didn't he say something like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that whole scene was cool. Yeah, that was cool, because, like, then that's when the chaos started, but, like, it kind of showed it, like, Madeline's point of view, where it's, like, keeps flashing in and out with chaos. Like, there's a big explosion, and then, like, it kind of kept blacking out, and you could hear screams. So, like, dang.
Yeah, they did not hold back.
No. And then the chaos, man. Like, there was even little things like Magneto, when he just got pure angry and used those trains as pretty much like freaking swords or hands. Like, and then, like, little things like the building collapsed on a bunch of people. Do you notice that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Magneto's fighting up there, and then, like, Mega Mold, whatever his name is, Master Mold, he knocks down that building, and it shows all the people screaming, and then, like, it shows the building falling on them. I'm like, geez, like, they really didn't hold back, man.
Not at all.
And the action scenes were great, and 10 out of 10, man. I'm rewatching the series again too.
Yeah, I want to watch the old one and then rewatch this. I don't know, the whole second half of the season, I felt like Nightcrawler was really I don't know how to describe it, like the emotional MVP. He was always there to talk to people and, like, help them get over whatever's going on, and he had some really good lines of talking back to what, like, Xavier said, or bringing up what Gambit said, and, like, he always had a very poignant scene with someone who's heartbroken or struggling, and he was the MVP. I think this solidified Nightcrawler as my favorite X-Man.
Nightcrawler is awesome. I think you hit on the nail too, because even in that fight I was telling you about with Wolverine and him, which, by the way, was awesome.
I agree. Maybe I'll switch that to a 10 just for that scene, because that scene was probably my favorite in the series, now that you bring that up.
It was so freaking awesome. Oh, but even Nightcrawler, like, in the middle of that fight, I don't know if you noticed, he did, like, a little look at Rogue to make sure, or not Rogue, Jean, to make sure she's like okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It was just like a little subtle moment in the middle of a fight.
He's like the ultimate like utility. He's like perfect for all the positioning things. He's there to like help people with their emotions. He's just like he's a bro.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. Because after watching this, I'm actually rewatching like the movies, like the live action ones.
Mm-hmm. He has a really cool scene in 2.
Yeah, and then we just finished the second one. And you know what? They did Nightcrawler almost perfect in live action because his action scenes were awesome. But even in the movie, he's like the kind of soft-spoken, like emotional one. Like they did him good in the movies.
That's true. I haven't seen that forever, but I remember really liking it. And his scene assaulting the White House was so good.
Oh, that was that opening scene, like X-Men 2, like after rewatching, I remember X-Men 2 always being my favorite, at least out of the older trilogy, and it still stands. Like that movie is awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
The first one's good, but the second one like cements the X-Men, like it feels more X-Men. Anyway, so yeah, that was episode 5, and episode 6 was one with Storm where she kind of gets her powers back, and it was good, but like after episode 5, right, I agree with you, it took a step back.
Yeah, the Storm stuff, I like Storm a lot, but I just didn't, some of her like trying to get her powers back, it wasn't up to the rest of the show for me. Like it was good, but she was kind of off on her own. She met up with Forge, but I don't really know much about Forge. They had a good dynamic, I guess, but it just wasn't as impactful as the rest of the X-Men to me. But when she got her powers back, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and I didn't know much about Forge either, but like watching the original series, I've slowly learned more.
Okay, nice.
Because he is in the original series, so like I'm just curious how he gets from the original series to like where he's at now, because he's just kind of off in wherever he's at, some desert somewhere.
Yeah, just off on his own.
But yeah, I agree. The little bird owl thing.
The adversary.
Yeah, exactly. It was all interesting, but it didn't resonate like you said. Was this the one also with Xavier on the planet?
With
that
the
stuff was pretty interesting.
It was, yeah. I don't really know how he got there, so I'm interested to go back and watch and how that all happened. But it was interesting seeing like the Shi'ar fight the Kree and see some of their like politics behind the scenes stuff was interesting.
So this one is when we learn. Well, actually, I didn't even know he was alive, so I learned he was alive in this one. I thought he legit died.
Yeah, at one point they say it. I'm like, oh, he is alive. Okay.
Because like in the first episode, Jean's like, oh, that's why you're acting weird. You finally got the death certificate, but they like didn't specify like, oh, it's just because he's gone, not because he's actually dead. So I actually thought he was dead. But episode 7, what was Bright Eyes? That was cool because there was some little cameos in that one, or cameo. I thought that was really cool. One thing I like about the show is they did kind of address why the Avengers weren't helping them. Well, at least some of them. Like a lot of them were off-world, or even in the final episodes, it showed, Captain America and kind of doing more of the political side of it.
Yeah, and his talk with Rogue about how he has to do it by the books made sense. Is very Captain America. I thought the best part of this was seeing Rogue kind of unhinged and just like out for blood. That also like totally makes sense. She just lost someone. She wants revenge, and she's scary when she gets angry.
Shoot, lost 2 people, really.
Yeah, true.
In her mind.
I think even Nightcrawler says that.
Yeah, he does. Yep, good old Nightcrawler. But this was like a good setup to kind of the finale, or like the final 3 episodes. Kind of clumps us one, really. So with the final 3, we could talk about the final 3 like together. It's just part 1, part 1, part 2, part 3. So like kind of like going in what like the Avengers are doing. I liked it was cool seeing Daredevil and Spider-Man.
We saw like Cloak and Dagger. We saw all these like really obscure from like they haven't been in the movies or anything. So that was cool to see. We saw like Omega Red and some other ones that I didn't even recognize, which is pretty crazy.
I didn't recognize some either.
Silver Samurai was in there.
Yep, that's right. Silver Samurai. Peter and MJ. I think it was Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, seeing Spider-Man and Daredevil and stuff was so cool.
I was shocked at the Daredevil. I wasn't expecting to get a little cameo of Daredevil.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
That was
cool. I liked that. The way they did it, at least they attempted to explain, some reasons. So that wasn't my nitpick. So one of my nitpicks, so you mentioned with Rogue, she kind of goes down a dark way, right? And then joins up with Magneto. And then literally 2 seconds later, after the whole thing that happened with Wolverine and Magneto, the chaos happens, and someone said something like, I think it was Jubilee or someone said, how are we going to do this? And then she's like, well, the X-Men always has luck on their side. I'm like, girl, you're just trying to you just betrayed them 30 seconds ago.
That's true.
Literally, she goes down this whole arc, and I totally understand it. She joins up with Magneto. She's fighting him, right? And then literally 2 seconds, I get it. You're in chaos and tides have turned, but like they don't address it at all. It's just, oh, it's okay. I gotta be on your guys' side again.
Yeah, that's true. They don't address it. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that's kind of funny.
That bothered me a little bit. It was just, you had like a very specific line saying the X-Men always have luck. I'm like, you just weren't an X-Men 30 seconds ago. Like, why did you have to be the one to say that? They should have made someone else say that. Yeah, so that scene we were talking about with Wolverine and Nightcrawler, wasn't that scene awesome? Like, when he's like, I got 6 reasons for you to be afraid, and then
Nightcrawler's like, how about 9 or something?
Oh, and then that awesome fight, like it did that like shot where it's just circling around them. Oh,
yes.
Dude, it was...
They definitely, I feel like the live action made Nightcrawler's like teleporting cool, but this one I feel like was another level. Like the sound, the look of it, how it disappeared so quickly, and like his choreography through it, using the momentum of teleporting to hit people and move people around. It was so good.
And even that scene where Wolverine like stabs one of the Sentinels and he's kind of getting teleported too. It was kind of cool seeing that kind of being inside it. And then even that shot at the end, like after they were fighting everyone and they're standing there and a bunch of like more Sentinel things are coming at them, like that shot looked really cool.
Mm-hmm.
This show did a really good job about having like shots that could be screensavers. Like it looked so good.
I probably want to get some of those shots as screensavers.
And I love the style of it. Kind of feels like you're watching an 80s VHS 70, you know, like grainy-ish kind of.
They did a great job of keeping the spirit of the 90s show and then updating it to make it look super cool and new in some parts, but still have that spirit of the 90s.
Like the animation was so cool. It was interesting. Like it was interesting animation. But I think you're right. The action like feels superior compared to a bunch of other Western animation, like you mentioned. What did you think when you saw that finale or the final fight with Wolverine and not really fight, but Magneto?
Oh man, that was pretty brutal.
And he stabbed someone, right? The first time in this whole series, he got to stab someone.
I remember you mentioning that. I'm like, oh, they saved it for this. Nice.
And it shows. It's bloody and everything.
Yeah, and then, man, Magneto just... I'm curious what the fallout from that is going to be. Like, it seemed like he ripped all of the adamantium out of Wolverine. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. And so he's going to have to go through like a personal journey in season 2. And you know what? You notice that they didn't show what happened to Wolverine. It never showed where Wolverine ended up.
That's true.
Which I thought was weird. I'm like, they showed everyone else besides Wolverine and that one other character. So I wonder if they're kind of saving that for like a big storyline for season 2.
Yeah, maybe he went somewhere else in the timeline and it's going to be a journey for him to figure out how to live with his no adamantium.
So we're going to have the bone Wolverine?
Bone claws, yeah.
And so that would be cool though, because can you imagine? So he's like all passed out and pretty much destroyed, and he's going to wake up in some random time. He's going to be so confused.
Very confused.
That will be interesting. Seeing that Wolverine... First of all, Wolverine stabbed Magneto, and like that was brutal, like seeing blood and all. I'm like, oh, dang, okay. At first, I thought Magneto like killed him.
It kind of seemed like that.
But then I rewatched it, and I read, some theories online, and it did look like it was just the metal coming out. I mean, his body is still freaking mutilated,
mangled.
But it will heal. But and I'm like, well, you know what? I guess that makes sense, because I'm even watching Wolverine or X-Men right now, and he uses his metal against him in the movies. I'm like, I don't know, I didn't think of that.
Well, I thought of that when he first fought. I was like, oh, you're going up against Magneto? That's a bad idea. And then, yep, he did it. he did the thing.
It was so good, man. I feel like there's so much... I feel like there's stuff we're missing just because there's so much cool things.
Yeah, like, so at the end, Bishop shows up again and tells Forge that the X-Men are, like, trapped in time. So I think it's going to be them in the next season, like, trying to find them and bring them back to their correct time.
Yeah, because it's been, 6 months, I think it said, since the incident? What did they call that day? They didn't call it D-Day. They called it, like, something else.
It was, like, E-Day or something, but I don't know. I don't remember for sure.
What caused the X-Men to time travel? So they had to save the planet ship thing to hit Earth, and they were succeeding because, well, then there's the whole stuff with Magneto and...
Dude, Magneto is freaking crazy strong. Like,
I know.
Just, like, took out the entire planet's, all of their infrastructure, all of the infrastructure on all of Earth. But yeah, he's the one he snapped out of that thing with Xavier where they were, like, struggling in his mind, and then he stopped the asteroid. But then, yeah, they kind of just blinked out of existence there.
So, like, what or who did that?
I kind of feel like it has to be Apocalypse or someone who wants something to happen with Apocalypse, because why else would they go back to Apocalypse at his time?
I was reading theories that some people think it could be like the Watcher.
That's always an option.
The thing is, though, is they like the whole ship, whatever that thing was they were on, disappeared, didn't it? It's like, who has the power to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Apocalypse might, but I don't know.
I just watched them from the mediocre X-Men movie, which I will admit, people bag on the Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, but I still enjoy those movies.
Yeah, I think First Class and Days of Future Past are better, but
for sure,
they're still enjoyable.
Days of Future Past might be the best X-Men movie.
Yeah, it's really good.
Honestly, I actually want to rewatch that after this to kind of see some similarities.
I think the top two for me are X-Men 2 and probably Days of Future Past.
I agree. I 100% agree. And then I would probably go X-Men 1 and First Class.
No, I would go X-Men 3.
No, I wasn't an X-Men 3 fan.
I
thought you were serious.
I hate X-Men 3.
Good for you if you like it. I thought you were legit.
No. No, that one's garbage. Yeah, I would probably go First Class and X-Men 1.
Yeah, I agree. The top tier is X2 and then Days of Future Past, and then next is X-Men and First Class, and then next...
Although Logan... Do you count Logan in those? Logan's really good.
And if we count Logan in there, then that's top tier too. That might be the best.
Yeah,
in my opinion. But
I agree.
don't know. I guess
really good.
That's right. Do you count Deadpool's and the Wolverine movies?
I don't know. That's tough. I
mean, X-Men
so?
appears in Deadpool. You know.
Yeah, true.
And now with Deadpool and Wolverine movie coming out,
I'm interested to see how that does. Yeah, how that is.
Oh, dude, I'm saying, yeah, I cannot wait for that. Yeah, I would put this show top tier.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my goodness, it was so good.
And then the setup. So yeah, that was 6 months. So for Bishop and who was down there? Jubilee, Forge, Jubilee, and what's the new kid's name? Sunspot. Was Storm down there? I feel like there's someone else. Oh, Beast, maybe, right?
So I have it here. So let's see.
Thank you, because I'm going nuts thinking of this.
Cyclops and Jean are in 3960 AD, a desolate future where they encounter Mother Ascani and young Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Rogue, Nightcrawler, Beast, Xavier, and Magneto are in ancient Egypt, where they meet Apocalypse.
Okay.
So we don't know where Morph is, unless, well, Morph might have been just down on Earth, maybe. Jubilee and Sunspot are on Earth. I think we saw that. We don't know where Logan is, where Wolverine is, and we don't know where Storm is.
Is it Storm? I know there's two characters.
Because Forge is looking for Storm. He looks up at the board and sees her there, said presumed dead. So I don't think we know where Storm is, and we don't know where Wolverine is.
Interesting.
Or when they are.
And they do not show it. There has to be a reason why they don't show it. It must be like a big storyline in the comics. They want people to not know. I feel like season 2 is going to have very Wolverine-centric personal journey.
Yes, I agree.
And then I think the whole season will probably be built up with Apocalypse. I don't think it's going to be like a 1 or 2 episode thing. I feel like that's going to be like a whole season arc.
Overarching thing, yeah. I would agree with that. Apocalypse is pretty big.
Apocalypse in like 2 episodes. I'm very curious how that plays out though, because I don't know, like, to be honest, all I know from Apocalypse is some of the stuff from the old show that I recently watched and the movie. Like, besides that, like, I do not know much about Apocalypse, so I'm very curious to learn.
That'll be cool to see, because I'm in the same boat.
And I wonder, like, why they're at that time and Jean and Cyclops got put in the future, and it's just there's so much questions.
Yeah, I guess with them going to the future to where Nathan is, it kind of doesn't feel like it would be Apocalypse. I feel like it would be something like the Watcher or someone watching over everything and like pulling strings.
I wonder if that lady has that introduced herself as like a bigger.
Oh yeah, it's Mother Ascani.
Yeah, I wonder if she has to be someone bigger, right? Because they made it specific to know her name.
Yeah.
And then Nathan. Yeah, I wonder how that's gonna play out. It's so weird. So you have they kind of almost have like a second chance to be able to like raise Nathan.
That's cool. I like that.
Time travel is so weird because that's like not. It's the same Nathan, but it's not. How would you explain that with time travel? Because it's the same. Nathan, right? But it's not. Is it the other Nathan we know is in the future? I don't know, dude.
I don't know. Does he have those memories of finding them, or is this now like a new branch on the timeline because they went there? And
that's
so
true.
Now it's gonna be different?
That's a good question.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Time travel is just a weird thing because it's either there's two ways of time travel. It's either set in stone, things happen, it's always gonna happen that way, or it's branching timelines because it could be set and like it's just the first time to happen. I don't know. It's weird, but I'm excited to delve into that, and I think I'm really excited to learn more about. Well, I know a lot about Wolverine, but to kind of see his personal journey.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. To see him without his metal claws in animation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and see how he deals with that.
That's true. Have you ever seen that in animation? I haven't. I don't know if it's been anywhere else.
It probably has been in animation, but I haven't seen it.
Also, is he at the point where I don't know if maybe I missed this or maybe it's in the old show, but does he have his memories in this show or no?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I know, like, obviously, like in the movies when he joins the X-Men, he doesn't have any memory of like before the last 15 years.
Yeah, I feel like he does because he says stuff like, "I've been in enough wars to know that the brave ones always die first," or like he makes these allusions to his past. So if I were to guess, I would say he probably has his memories, but I don't know for sure.
That's true. I wonder where Sabretooth is.
Yeah, they even show like Sabretooth, Juggernaut, and some other of the Brotherhood in the intro. So I was kind of expecting them to show up at some point, but they didn't. Mm-hmm. So must be saving them.
Yeah. And I seen them in one of the episodes in the older show. There's a really cool episode in the older show with Wolverine that was interesting, where he does try to go off and live a normal life. I thought that was like a really interesting episode.
Nice.
And it has Sabretooth kind of like antagonizing him the whole time, like kind of stalking him and following him and ruining it.
Interesting.
So it's like, it's interesting. There's a reason why I guess Wolverine is like a fan favorite. But I actually kind of agree with you though. Like, I don't know, because I think Nightcrawler, like the way they did him, I think he's like the all-around X-Men. Or X-Man.
He's the ultimate support. I feel like physical, emotional.
Yeah.
I love the triple swords. That was so cool.
That was awesome. And just that on top of like him being a really good fighter, like a potent fighter, and being able to teleport and having that like emotional friendship and capability of like being there for people. It's like, dude, he's all in one.
He's always been one of my favorites, but I think he might be my favorite now.
I think I agree.
It's so cool. And it looked, the teleporting just looked so amazing.
You're right, even the sound and everything.
Oh, the sound was great.
So good. But yeah, overall, I do 10 out of 10 show, and I did read that the main writer for the show got fired. Did you know that?
Really? No. Why is that?
Yeah.
I wonder.
I don't know. There's been rumors, like apparently, like Disney saw he had like an OnlyFans page or something, allegedly.
Interesting. Yeah, Disney wouldn't like that, I guess.
But it's just weird. So he wrote, because I was saw some tweets, and he wrote all of season 2. So he still wrote season 2, like because season 2 is done, but he's not there for like rewrites or when they're like producing it and the animation and all that. So I'm curious to see. So I think season 2, unless they totally rewrite his season, which I don't think they did if it's already finished, then season 2 will probably be the same quality. But it makes me wonder about season 3, like how different it will feel without the main guy.
Yeah, it says here, reportedly DeMeo was difficult to work with, and his use of a non-explicit OnlyFans account was not received well by Disney executives.
Wait, non-explicit?
Yeah, OnlyFans was originally started just so that you could like monetize like specific content. It wasn't started as an adult only thing. So it sounds like he was using it as that, which I mean, why wouldn't he be able to do that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I guess maybe it's just
the stigma around with it.
Yeah, like when you think OnlyFans, you know what you think of.
I guess that is it, and Disney will stay away from that as much as possible.
Oh yeah. It's just, I hope it doesn't affect the future seasons. Like I know season 2 is already done and stuff, but who knows what they could change. And he's like, because he had, someone was asking him on Twitter, and he's like, I have no post involvement for changes. Sometimes he'll write changes in the scripts, and like, he has no involvement with any of that. So
interesting.
They'd be dumb. Maybe they'll rehire him eventually.
Yeah, maybe they will.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, they did the same thing with like James Gunn. You remember that?
That's true, yeah.
From like tweets from like 20 years ago or something, and then, he got hired back.
This could be a James Gunn situation. That's true.
But no, I loved it, man. Like,
yeah, me too. Thanks for getting me to watch it.
Oh, for sure. And the funny thing is, I remember us not a couple episodes ago, podcasts ago, we were talking about it. Remember, we kind of like, oh yeah, I heard this is good. We'll probably watch this. Thank God we did.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, I'm rewatching all the X-Men movies, so each week I'll tell you what I think of it.
Nice. I'm going to start watching the old show.
Yeah, and the old show, yeah. But sweet.
Cool.